Meadows of daffodils come January were picked by Eastern European workers. They lived in temporary trailer camps in the fields, surrounded by more fields, with no designated roads leading to them. What roads there were curved and climbed, then suddenly dropped. Men with beards pushed prams behind tall iron gates that concealed private drives. Manfred noticed seaweeds lurking in the grass, and more heaped under hedges. Overhead, ancient oak and pine grew along the streams and creeks leading down to the Helford. After a heavy rain, these trees looked like inverted kelp beds, swaying in waves of wind. All the skies over Cornwall looked like former oceans. Gweek's only tourist attraction was a seal sanctuary. For something to do, Manfred joined the locals on their regular beach clean. He caught a bit of local gossip. Someone mentioned that a start-up was moving into the old fish factory. A younger man, after noticing Manfred catch his breath, pointed out the red phone box with the village defibrillator. There was plenty to be thankful for. What kind of person didn't acknowledge it? In the city where Manfred last lived, he had a bus and 2 trains to catch, and if each of these ran on time, he made it to his first class in an hour and a half. Commuting to Gweek College meant opening his back garden gate for a short walk down the beach. The campus consisted of 4 single-floor office buildings and a communal patch of grass. Students could take anything from hairdressing to animal handling. The staff were roughly half his age. Hardly any of them lived in Gweek. On the first day, he met Simon. He was on the shorter side, with a small, round head and wispy hair that wafted back and forth like grass in the wind. Simon also taught remedial English. They ran into each other in the corridor, heading into adjacent classrooms. "Manfred's an interesting name," Simon said. "Not often you hear that." Each time he had to introduce himself, Manfred heard the same thing. Simon was still waiting under the fluorescent lights, as if for an explanation. "It's a poem, by Byron. My parents thought it would inspire me, I suppose." "Ah." Over the top of Simon's floating hair, a gust of wind and rain came through an open window. "If you wanted," he went on, "you could just go by Fred." Manfred went over to close the window. What a piece of magic it would be if all his problems could be sorted by changing his name. Out in the courtyard, some seaweeds had washed up from the last storm. He shuddered at the way they lay there, gathered in the wet. There would be more soon. He could smell them coming. Maybe, he decided, he would go by Fred. It would be a rebrand that took away the curses. By the time he'd turned around, Simon had gone. Falmouth was the nearest town. He took a bus, wandered the high street, made the obligatory effort. Instead of sandwiches for sale, there were pasties. Instead of plain shirts, there were ones with blue horizontal stripes. The art galleries sold pictures of boats and seagulls. Noticing these things while falling in step with the other tourists gave Manfred a dry and hollow sensation in his stomach. At least Falmouth had fresh air. Gweek lay near the mouth of the Helford's brackish waters, but Falmouth had sandy beaches and blue water. Cliffs and coastal paths overlooked the sea. The docks were busy with workers. Cafes, restaurants, and pubs dotted the waterfront. In the near distance, the metallic blue hull of HMS Echo stretched along the harbour. He'd read about this vessel in the Falmouth Packet. She had returned from the Indian Ocean on her search for the famous disappearing passenger plane, MH370. He ducked into the nearest pub. He ordered a pint and overheard the ship's crew unburdening themselves at the bar. They had spent 12 weeks in 4-hour rotations, pointing their binoculars at the empty waves. Their ship apparently had the world's most advanced sonar equipment, and they'd failed. He waited for a lull in their conversation. "That pilot must have been a professional suicide," he suggested.